Good morning.
You are all welcome to day 3 of the conference. Sorry, we are behind schedule. We'll see how we can catch up to make that up. I believe you all had a good night's rest, and we are all refreshed and geared up for today's session. My name is Mrs. Uta, your compare, and
Gloria Mark Afro Oko.
so she will be in hall 2. As we did yesterday, we are going to be running 2 sessions at the same time. Before we commence proceedings, as patriotic citizens, let's be on our feet and take the national anthem. We're going to sing out as Right. 1, 2, go. Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's colony, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Thank you very much. All right, so let's have those that are behind come forward so that the cameramen will find it easy to capture all of us. Good for the camera.
Thank you.
I crave your indulgence to do that.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Anuma. I'll be calling your names for those that you know. Thank you, Olamide. Kindly move forward. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Obende.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for granting or obliging us. We're going to be starting with collection of the first paper, collection of personal identifiable information in Nigeria, legal provisions for privacy protection, and that is going to be taken by Barrister Olumide Olujimi. Barrister Olumide Olujimi. The second paper that's going to be going on simultaneously in hall 2 is critical infrastructure protection against terrorism, a hybrid model of telecom legacy interoperability. That's the second paper that is going to be taking place simultaneously in hall 2, and that is going to be presented by Dr. Natsino Ugo on the chair. Alright, so those of us that are interested in the second paper, kindly move over to hall 2. Gloria and Dr. Sino are moving there, so you can just go along with them. Critical infrastructure protection against terrorism, a hybrid model of telecoms legacy interoperability. Okay. And then Ruben can give us the citation of Barrister Olumide.
Practitioners. He obtained his law degree from the University of Ibadan and thereafter qualified as a legal practitioner from the Nigerian Law School. He is an alumnus of the esteemed University of Oxford, where he has presented case studies on critical matters of human endeavor. Olumide is a member of the Global Network for Cyber Solution Limited, a non-governmental association that convened the first national conference on cybersecurity in Nigeria, which culminated in the government's first national policy on cybersecurity in Nigeria and the Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Act 2015. Olumide has developed his legal practice into diverse areas of expertise, and he is currently involved in several matters of national importance, including the security of the federal highways.
Please give a round of applause as we make welcome Barrister Olumide.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Olumide Olujimi. I am a barrister at law, and I know one or two things about IT. So that's what brings me here. I had prepared let's say, voluminous slides, but I'll try as much as possible, go to the time that I've been spent, to do what I can do within the time that we have for us. Please pardon my style. I normally find myself in the courtroom every other day. So if at any point in time you don't seem to get what I'm saying, please be happy to raise your hands and correct myself. Thank you very much. Okay. The topic, you realize that the topic I was given is a bit different from what is coming up on the screen. I was permitted in the letter to adjust the topic to what may be more convenient for me to present. So that is why it comes up like this. It comes up a collection of personal data, legal framework for privacy management in Nigeria. Just before I go on, it's in law, whatever you say may be used against you. So that is more importantly why I had to adjust, so that whatever I say there is no use against me. So moving forward, naturally, before we talk about any issue, introduction is normally what we want to go through. I know I don't have so much to say about data, which encompasses the whole subject we have to discuss this morning. But we still have to lay that foundation so that we can have a seamless flow into the nitty-gritty of our conversation this morning. Yeah. What we'll be talking about generally is the overview of the presentation now, which is data, privacy, convergence of data and privacy. That means, where does privacy come in when you talk about data? The security of that data. Then it is when there is no security that issue of privacy comes in. Then what is the legal framework that protects us? Yeah. So what is the meaning of data? Wikipedia says is a set of values of subjects with respect to qualitative or quantitative variables, data and information or knowledge are often used interchangeably. However, data becomes information when it is viewed in context or in post-analysis. I don't know how much sense this definition makes, but we'll go ahead to Merriam-Webster, which says that data is factual information, such as measurement or statistics, used as a base for reasoning, discussion, or calculation. I think it's getting clearer now. But for myself, I think we should keep it simpler. I say it is information, a set of values required to create solutions. That is what I consider data. And of course, I put in there that please feel free to criticize me on this definition. So this data that we talk about is everywhere around us, and the use of this data has formed the basis of several decision-making processes. Example of this decision-making processes: population census. It assists government in making infrastructure decisions. Demand affects supply of commodities. If we know what data we have on demand, it is easy for us to give supply of commodities. Number of diesel cars in use determine the amount of diesel consumed. This data. Number of school-age children determine the amount required to be invested in education, and so on and so forth. This data we are talking about contains personal information. In those years, of course, before the digital age, they were kept as hard copy. Tracing and harvesting the data was very difficult due to their archiving nature. At the same time, it was easy. When the paper falls out of the file, anyone that comes in contact with that paper learns about the information easily. So more often than not, we relied on our memory and other analog concepts to keep the data. In the new age, much of the collection of data is now through computers, which will be online or offline. By registering an email address, sign up to apps, which range from professional use apps to social media apps. We donate our information freely. On these social media apps, we volunteer information regularly with updates on what we are eating, where we are, where we work, how many siblings and children we have, number of wives or husbands, and so on. All these things culminate into data that is now freely available about us, except persons who live off grid. I wonder how such persons will survive in this day and age, living off the grid. Considering that we now have all this information out there, how does privacy, issue of privacy, how does it come in? Even before the computer age, there's been some attempts at privacy. So it's not a new concept that we're talking about privacy. It's not until the digital age came that we started talking about privacy. You realize that even before now, before the computer age, when we kept files were kept, some particular files were called secret files that were kept in locked rooms or vaults, physically restricting access. And that is what we call firewall these days. That before you can gain access to all these files, you must be able to go through this firewall and you must be granted access when we allow them. So you can imagine what a 19th century firewall looked like. It comes to make me think that the massive wall of China was one of those firewalls that we had there. And of course, things like whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That is a firewall. Because when you go to Vegas, whatever happens there, when you come out of Vegas, you don't say it. So now, even at the level of the United Nations, the issue of privacy has been discussed as far back as 1948 at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And in the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 12, which concerns our discuss this morning, has said that no one shall be subject to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. These days, when I talk about privacy, there is a way we view the issue of privacy. Now, comparing the wordings of this Article 12 as far back as 1948, you will wonder if they had in the back of their mind the use of the computer for everyday use. Yes, of course, though it is doubted the General Assembly of the UN at the time had the computer age in mind at the time. But it is worthy of note that at that level, privacy was considered important. So this provision of the Universal Declaration was later codified into Nigerian law for the first time as Section 22 of the Nigerian Constitution Order in Council 1960. And these were the wordings: every person shall be entitled to respect for his private and family life, his home, and his correspondence. Since then, It has remained a part of the Nigerian Constitution of 1963, 1979, and 1999 with the amendments. The latest constitutional provision on privacy can be seen at Section 37 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. It says, the privacy of citizens, their homes, correspondence, telephone conversations, and telegraphic communications is hereby guaranteed and protected. It will be observed from the wordings that they are much more assertive. It comes to make us think that they now think that privacy of data is much more important now. Though the use of gadgets as smartphones, internet, and all electronic devices was not part of their consideration, even at the time they were making this 1999 constitution. But of course, the germane issue is this: what provision in reality is there for the implementation of these provisions of the law as regards privacy? What structure is in place in respect to this? Today, when we talk about privacy management, especially at the context of this conference notes, we are talking about the privacy of our information in the digital age. The legal provision for privacy management originated with 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, several years before the digital age, which has been codified into Section 37 of the Constitution. But because of the adoption or the provision was well before the digital age, it did not take into consideration the peculiarity of the situation which now accompanies it. Over time, the Nigerian courts have had the opportunity to determine the extent of the application of Section 37 of the Constitution when it comes to privacy of data breach. Breach of privacy. At some point in time, just not too long ago, there's been someone that was really agitated by a breach of his privacy. What happened in that scenario? These messages that come from service providers, the message just comes in. Type yes to 3210, whatever, then you get this song. Type this to this number, then you get this money. You can get loan in 5 minutes. If you need a date, text this number. And all these were encouraged by the telecommunications companies. It was like an advert system for anybody that wants to get that information out there. But of course, it becomes a nuisance to your phones. Every now and then, you're hearing the buzz. Imagine you expecting an alert, a bank alert, actually a payment in. Then all you are getting is text 3 to 324, text 5 to 320, text 5. Of course, it becomes a nuisance. So, this man, Godfrey Eneye, of course, we wouldn't take it lightly. A lot of us get angry, we discuss with our friends and forget about it. But this man won't take it lightly. They went to court, they challenged MTN communication. At the High Court, the court agreed that his privacy was breached. But mind you, there was no recent enactment in respect of privacy that was discussed in that case. All that we basically had to rely upon was Section 37 of the Constitution, which we have also said did not take into consideration the digital age. Even though this was digital breach of privacy, but that Section 37 appeared to have taken into consideration whatever kind of breach of privacy. So no matter what means that was used, the law had already taken care of it. And thankfully, the courts were proactive in the construction of that provision of the law to cover this man. So at the end of the day, he was granted 5 million in damages for the breach. Naturally, the matter went on appeal, and won an appeal. MTN is satisfied with that decision because they fear that as soon as this man is able to go to bed with this 5 million, every one of us, every one of us would be in court and we'll be collecting our 5 million on a regular from them. So they have now gone to Supreme Court. The matter is pending at Supreme Court. We don't know what the results will be, but we'll keep our fingers crossed until then. We hope Mr. Neye is able to get something decent. Then there's been another matter. One Ezugu Emmanuel Adene versus Airtel Nigeria Limited. Of course, his complaint is similar. He took Airtel to court. He got his award. But one curious thing about this case is that Airtel did not come to defend the case. Why? Apparently, they were hoping on a technical ground of law to be able to knock out this case by Mr. Anene. Unfortunately, the counsel to Mr. Anene was a smart guy who was able to anticipate them. So when they now raised all these issues, they were not able to succeed. So whether it is an appeal now or not, I have no idea. But mind you, he also got 5 million in that instance. So this is as far as the courts have gone in respect of enforcing the protection of privacy in Nigeria. Nowadays, we need to complete forms before we can install and use apps on our mobile devices. So in completing these forms, we give out our information. More so, most of these apps that we like to use, they are the free apps. Most of us don't want to pay for the apps. It's the free ones that we go for. And naturally, we just donate our information to them. I can assure you that most of these apps have more information than the federal government even has about each of us. Just because we use them free. But we move on from there. Television sets, they require you to key certain personal information before you can activate them. To get the full use of some computers that you use these days, you have to put in a lot of personal information. You get into your house, as soon as you walk into your house, you have a Wi-Fi system, your phone integrates into your Wi-Fi system. The next thing, your phone is broadcasting on your TV in the house. While they are doing that, someone from the next house who is interested in knowing what is in your house logs into your TV and it sees everything that is happening in your house. This is a breach of your privacy. Some cars require personal data before you can enjoy the full features. Some cars, as soon as you put your hand on the handle of that car, it knows it's you. It even tells you welcome, Mr. Olumide. So that car already knows your information. Our calendar shows our itinerary across our electronic devices. If you use electronic calendar across all your electronic devices, you will be able to see your calendar. So anybody that wants to breach your data just needs to take hold of one of those devices. We transact business and we leave our information with the merchant for ease of future business use. Most of us, as it is now, we shop online. For the ease of having future transactions, we do not remove our information from these sites. In fact, they say keep information for future transactions. We say yes. Our information is already with them. Whatever they like, they already feel they can make use of it. So all this information out there in the hands of third parties, there is a need to have some form of legal framework for the protection and management of this data. So thankfully, Nigeria has taken some recent strides concerning the legal framework for privacy management. These strides have been championed by the Nigeria Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA. And this comes about by the Act establishing NITVA. It is an agency of government mandated to make policies that cover data privacy management in Nigeria. That is one of their key functions. So over the years, NITDA has recently, in January 2019, they have been able uh, to wheel out the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, that is the NDPR, which I believe most of us are aware of. So, what is the purpose of the NDPR? It says regulations for electronic governance and monitor the use of electronic data, interchange, and other forms of electronic communication transactions as an alternative to paper-based methods in government, commerce, education, in private and public sectors, labor and other fields, where the use of electronic data communication may improve the exchange of data and information. Foremost recommendations of NDPR is number one of its objectives, which is to safeguard the rights of natural persons to data privacy. That is foremost of the provisions of the NDPR. This comes to mind as a. So they say when there are no protections in the third party country, the data subject is left to his best judgment before releasing his PID. How do you arrive at best judgment? I think for me, it should just be one of those little things that they say we should look at when we are putting our information on website. They say we should look for a padlock on the screen, and it has to be HTTPS. So those are the things that will form my best judgment before I go on to that website or app or whatever place. So under the NDPR, the data subject, that is you and I, we have rights. Yes? And the rights are listed under Article 3.1, and they include information from data controller must be simple to understand. Data controller must respond to queries of data subject within a month. Service by data controller shall be free of charge. For the first two, I would say generally that is subjective. One, what is easy for me to understand might not be easy for every other person to understand. Then, the data controller. If the data controller is someone that is receiving so many queries in respect of its service, how would they be able to comply with that without putting in a charge? Would that mean that at the front end, when you are trying to access the service, you have to pay a cost which you cover for this unforeseeables? I think I'll leave that to the data subject to decide. So within the data subject rights, the data controller also has some rights. Where data subject is being unreasonable by being repetitive in request, the data controller can charge a fee. Data controller may inform the data subject in writing with reasons for refusal to act. So data controller also has a right in a circumstance where the data subject is being reasonable. So, of course, if it gets to the stage and the data controller or the data subject is not comfortable with the data controller, he can request for his data to be deleted. I don't want to keep my data anymore. So that means we all can return to Google and say, delete all my information. I don't want to keep my information anymore. That is the right you should have now. But in this day and age, where business is done online, and to verify your identity, some people have to go online. Do you really want your personal data to be removed? And how relevant will you make yourself in this digital age? So, one thing that has always been a concern for government agencies in Nigeria is not just about policies, it's about implementation mechanisms. That, okay, what plan do you even have to implement? Fortunately, the NDPR made some provision in respect of this. So part of the implementation mechanisms comes up as data controllers shall within 3 months comply with the regulation. Data controllers within 3 months of this regulation. That is to say, if as of January 2019, when the NDPR came into play, you have not taken steps which appear to comply with the NDPR, you are meant to take proactive steps immediately within 3 months to comply with that regulation. Data controller shall employ data protection officer to ensure compliance with data controllers' directives. That is creation of labor again for some people out there. They shall employ data protection officer. NITDA shall license data protection compliance organizations. That is further creating business opportunities for persons who want to be engaged as data protection compliance organizations. So, of course, naturally, what they do is just take the mandate of the NITDA, go to different agencies, and ensure that they are complying with the provisions of the NDPR. And within 6 months of the regulation, the data controller shall carry on data protection practices and privacy in line with the regulation. So, in case of non-compliance, there is the administrative redress panel set up by the agency, but this is without prejudice to other rights of redress in a court of law which data subjects may have. So, if the data subject has an issue with the data controller, you can always report to the NITDA so that they can go through a process called an administrative risk redress panel. They look at your complaints. Of course, they invite the data controller also, who shall also take his case. And at the end of the day, they will arrive at a conclusion. But of course, this is without prejudice to your right as a Nigerian citizen to go to court and enforce your rights, like Mr. Eneye in the case of MTN, and the other man in the case of Airtel. You can still go to court and enforce your rights. But of course, this is an option that you decide to take. For me, I will always choose having to go to court, because going to court, the court can make coercive decisions which can be enforced. But the administrative panel by the NITDA, they will not have the power to enforce any decision that they have. Whatever decision that they give is going to be administrative. But a decision of the court of law can be enforced. You can get the police involved in the enforcement of these decisions. So that is why I'd rather go there. And the time involved, sometimes these government agencies are inundated with several functions that they have to perform. So before they even attend to your case, it takes a long time. But in a court of law, even though it may seem that the judicial process takes a while, but at the end of the day, when you get that decision, you can enforce. That is the difference between the administrative panel and going to court for redress. There is also in the legal framework what we call the Personal Information and Data Protection Bill, which though has not been passed into law yet. But we'll quickly do a rundown of the provisions and hope that sometime soon the Parliament are going to pass it into law. So some of the provisions of the bill are that the bill is directed at private institutions with a limited applications for individuals. This is just as the long title suggests. And the long title suggests that it is an act to provide for regulations governing the processing of personal information of individuals, including the collection, holding, use, or disclosure of such information by persons and organizations other than government institutions in a manner that recognizes and protects the personal information and data of individuals. So it is directed at institutions for the provision of personal data. So, of interest in the definition of the words should, it does not impose an obligation, but it is made directly. The use of the word should in that bill, it does not make it an obligation. In some other acts, the use of the word should makes some, in fact, all the provisions compulsory, mandatory. But the use of the word should in this personal information bill makes it nearly directly. That will be a bit of concern for us because we are more interested in the guaranteed protection of our rights. But if the act now says that should is directly, so whether it applies or not, it may not really matter. So it's of big concern. Of interest also in that bill is that the bill set up an agency of government called Privacy Protection Office, which shall be manned by someone that are referred to as a privacy commissioner appointed by the president. And of course, the office of the privacy commissioner is reserved exclusively for legal practitioners. I think my colleagues, legal professionals, will be very happy about that. But of course, we are here to solve it. The functions of the office appear to overlap with that of NITDA under the NUPR, but it is expected that areas of overlap be treated before the bill is passed into law. The provisions for remedies for data subjects, this time it is not without prejudice to other remedies available to data subjects in the court of law, but from the wordings of the bill, it does not appear that it will hinder the data subject from seeking redress in the court of law. The commissioner may initiate the investigation of a complaint. I hope we appreciate the spirit of this provision. The commissioner of that privacy protection office can initiate a complaint. It is not you that will now turn around and say, my privacy has been breached. No. This commissioner has the power to make that complaint that the privacy of some individuals around here have been breached. So I want to enforce the law against the data controller. So you can initiate the investigation of a complaint, reconsider a decision not to investigate, discontinue investigation. That may be of some worries when, in an age when we know that politics is put into everything. Imagine the son of the what do you call it, the police, the commissioner being from a particular political party in Nigeria, and the complaint comes from that political party. You can be sure that you go all the way to the end of it. But if it comes from an opposition party, it dies a natural death, which is always sudden. So it may be of worry with us at that place. The commissioner is also empowered to employ dispute resolution mechanisms like mediation and conciliation. These, of course, are the normal dispute resolution systems that we have in place. And at some point in time, you will find out that most of the disputes that we find that get to even court, which people tend to use several years to burn down, these are disputes that could easily have been resolved if they had sat at the table in mediation and conciliation. But strangely though, some people are so interested in fighting to finish, while at the same time, it is not necessary to go through all that rigor. So after a report has been given to the commissioner, a dissatisfied complainant may also file an action in court. That is, after submitting a complaint, there's been a privacy breach, or non-compliance with the Privacy Protection Act. I'm not satisfied with the decision you are giving or the way you are treating my case. I'm going to court. But how much time would have been wasted before you make that decision? So that is why my own personal advice is, as soon as you feel that something has been done to you that is wrong, and you know that you are definitely entitled to some remedy in law, but that's of course after giving advice, go to court. These people, that is the provisions of the law that regulates the actions of these agencies, gives too much permission whether to decide pragmatically or to decide in a nonchalant manner. So if that provision is there, the chances of you getting that result which you want are really low. So it is better for you to just head to court, pursue it, and at the end of the day, you get the justice that you are to get in the circumstance. Yeah, we've said that before. The commissioner, without an investigation, initiate an action in court on behalf of the complainant. Yes, they can do that. That's part of their powers. So, what are the remedies available to you and I upon an application to court? These remedies are the ones provided by the Privacy Protection Bill. And what does it say? The court can order an organization to correct its practices in order to comply with the law. Order an organization to publish a notice of any action taken or proposed to be taken to correct its practices, whether or not order to correct them under paragraph A, and award damages to the complainant, including damages for any humiliation that complainant had suffered. Such complaints are to be treated expeditiously by a court of law. It's very interesting to note that the issue of privacy has been taken so importantly that the law even says that they have to be treated expeditiously. But mind you, in reality, when they even talk about expeditious trial by a court of law, the reality is that expeditious has a different meaning when it gets to a court of law. Expedition to you and I normally may mean that within a month, within 2 weeks, I have a decision on my case. But these days, expedition sometimes could mean 3 years, 4 years. Why? It is because of the volume of cases that you have in courts. Also, the judges happen to be human beings who have refused to accept the digital age to operate. A lot of them would rather go analog. Only very few of them embrace the digital age, the use of computer, the use of transcribers in the digital system. So, expeditious, for example, a case that should normally not take more than an hour to treat in a day may take 4 hours. So a judge who is a human being like you and I, who has been writing in longhand for 4 hours, you expect him to do another case after that. It will be in the of us to push that judge beyond that. So we in the legal practice, we have hoped, and we are also pushing them at every opportunity to accept the use of technology in the court system, so that cases can be dispensed faster. So when you talk about expeditious, so put that at the back of your mind. Yes, the court will say yes, expeditious. Your case was filed today. Some cases have been filed since 2016. Some cases were filed in 2014. So instead of yours taking 4 years, Let's see if yours can take 24 months. So that is what expeditious will mean in this circumstance. So when proceedings are conducted by the court shall take care not to disclose the personal information of a complainant. To me, this will be a major challenge. Why? Court processes are public documents by the provisions of the law, and any one of us here can apply to that court to get certified true copy of this document. In short, all these court documents are available to you and I. So how careful can a court be in making sure they do not disclose the personal information of complainant? As long as it is in the court process, I don't believe that this provision is one that can be complied with, except they now come up with a system which I have not seen yet that will protect the complainants. But as we know, this is still a bill. It's still going through some debates at the lower chamber and at the bigger chamber and the higher chamber, and I strongly believe that at that point we all will be invited as members of the public to debate that bill. So the commissioner is bound with a duty of confidentiality to the complainant. This is a good provision, and it should not be left to the personality of that commissioner if he can comply with all this. So, in conclusion of our discussion, we can see that personal data is not inviolable as long as we are in the digital age. That is the bitter truth of the reality we find ourselves. I was opportune to be in a conversation with the professor of data security from the University of Oxford recently, just about a month ago. And the conversation, of course, was about data security. When issues were raised as regards to how can we secure this, how can we secure that, he says, well, sometimes the building of these programs are faulty. And by the time they now carry out analysis of all these programs, in fact, they wonder how come you've left this patch open? How come you've left this way open? How come you left this way open? But you find that these people who produce this software, they are businessmen. It's all about business. First to market. Who gets to the market first? Innovation. I've innovated this thing. It's not been tested for so long, but who gets to the market first? So they always blame the engineers of churning out these programs, application, and software so fast without having tested the security, integrity of all these things. And his conclusion was this: if we are going to talk about personal data security, protection, the best thing is to turn off the internet. I don't know how that is possible, it's too late. The importance of privacy is recognized on the international and local level. Government agencies have taken steps to provide regulation for personal data protection, which also include implementation strategies. The Parliament is also taking further steps to establish a privacy protection office. Just before I go, there's some information that ought to be on the slide that didn't make its way into the slide. It relates to the Cybercrime Act of 2015. The Cybercrime Act of 2015 doesn't really take care of privacy, personal data protection. It generally talks about government infrastructure, government data protection, and it is in respect of crime over the internet. A lot of crimes that are already in existence in several laws can be committed online over the internet. So it is only using the internet to commit these crimes. So it is the use of the internet to commit these crimes that the Cybercrime Act has come to take care of. But be that as it may, it has one or two provisions that talk about personal data protection. When security agencies are carrying out investigation in respect of any case, they will have to carry out investigation which goes as far as personal data of human beings. For example, you go to a telecommunication provider and investigate, okay, who owns this phone number? What is his address? What is his age? Where does he work? That is the personal data they will have to harvest from these telecommunication providers. And the law allows them to be able to access this. So, and when they are giving out, and the telecommunication provider is mandated in law to release this information. And in keeping the information at first by the telecommunication provider, they ought not to keep it for more than 2 years. So if at any point in time during the storage of this information, anything goes wrong with that information, the telecommunication provider, whose data controller here, is going to be responsible for anything that happens to that information. Now, that law, that Cybercrime Act, also now clearly states that in compliance with the provisions of the Cybercrime Act, a telecommunication provider, a security agency, must ensure that they comply with the provisions of Section 37 of the Constitution, which deals with privacy. So if at any point in time, as a security officer, security agency, you are investigating someone, you now access the information through the telecom provider, you must make sure that you keep that data which you have access to properly. Because if at any point in time during that process, it falls into the hand of someone else, it will constitute a breach of private data, and you will now be liable under Section 37 of the Constitution. So that is as far as that provision of the cybercrime says. And they now say that it shall be an offense where you do not comply. That is, the security officer, if he does not comply with the provisions of that act in protecting your privacy, if the data controller does not comply, it shall be a crime, and they shall be liable to 7 years imprisonment, to 3 years imprisonment, or 7 million naira fine. I think I would have paid the 7 million than do 3 years. So at the end of the day, from all the things we discussed today, the near future looks good for protection and management of privacy in Nigeria. So we look forward to a practical implementation of regulations and laws governing protection of privacy in Nigeria by the agencies, by data controllers, even the data processors, and all stakeholders involved. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you'll be able to put something. Thank you very much.
Let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much, Barrister. All right, so let's not take 2 questions, and we'll be great. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Munibat. Thank you very much for the good presentation. Very educative and very insightful. Well, I have a question of clarifications actually. Is when you are talking about the penalty for the and you said something, I can see that we have it, the penalty is in a bracket of 3. You said 2% of the annual revenue, 2 million or 10 million, and whichever is greater. My concern here is that if we are not careful, this can become a subject of, can place room for subjectivity. Can we have it clear? At what point do you take 2% of revenue? At what point is 2 million? At what, You know us in Nigeria, sometimes so somebody might be finding a way just to go inside there and just pick any of the list one. But I think it's very important that to our first objectivity, why not just make at this point is 2% of your revenue. This is at this point is 2 million, and for this offense is 10 million. So that's my first one. The second one also is also to our first objectivity. I felt that there might be some level of subjectivity, and that's the issue about data subject being unreasonable. What's the definition of unreasonable here? Because somebody, this time when he has made the request so many times, 10 times, 4 times, but just use the word unreasonable. So even the data, what do you call them, the people, they might end up, even when you request for the first time and say you have been unreasonable. So can we define what is the unreasonable in this case? Thank you.
Let's have that gentleman. We are just going to take your question.
Good morning.
Straight to the point, please.
My name is Patrick Godo. Thank you for the excellent paper presented. I'm wondering, you discussed personal information and come to conclusion without mentioning something like PCI DSS, Ultimate Card Industry Data Protection Standard. Is it because it's not local or doesn't it have any application in our environment? That's just my question. Thank you.
Then please just no, this way, come this way. No, just hold on.
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe I heard you in the course of your presentation where you said that it is one of the roles of the Privacy Commissioner to seek redress on our behalf. Then, on the other hand, you advise that if you were in our shoes, you get straight to the court without going through the commission. So how do we reconcile that? I mean, won't it get to a point when if you get to the court, you'll be asked maybe to go first back to the Privacy Commissioner? Please clarify. Thank you.
Okay, just hand the mic over to the president if you'd like to say something. Then.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question is, sir, what weight in law does a regulation have versus a bill? How enforceable is it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll try as much as possible to answer the questions seriously. The first question was as regards the penalty for non-compliance with the NBPR. Okay, what we put here on the slide screen was just a summary of what the penalties look like. Actually, the penalty is 2% of the gross annual income, where the revenue of that company is beyond 10 million. When it is beyond 10 million. But where it is below, then they pay that amount of 2 million. So at the end of the day, they now see whichever is greater. Whichever is greater, only 2. So it's at 10% of the gross annual income, but when the gross annual income is less than 10 million, then you pay 2 million as the penalty. Yeah. So the second question was as regards data subject being unreasonable. Yes, I'll quickly agree that it may be subjective to the data controller, that who is being unreasonable or not. There's something in law called reasonableness tests. What is reasonable to this man may not be reasonable to this man here. So at the end of the day, how do we get to a middle? It is about the common man on the streets. What is reasonable to that common man on the streets? That is what we use to measure what is reasonable in the instance. So that common man on the street is the line, so it may tilt left a little bit and or tilt right a little bit, but the common man on the street is a standard of judging reasonableness in that circumstance. It may not be precise, but that is how it is tested. And sometimes the court of law is given the opportunity to look at. And in considering reasonableness, the court calls the exercise of what is reasonable or not as a discretion. That is, from the set of facts I have, it is unreasonable. From the set of facts that I have, it is reasonable. So it's a combination of several issues put together that will make it reasonable or unreasonable in any circumstance. So it is totally subjective at the end of the day. Though with the ordinary man on the street as the standard for testing, which may tilt left or tilt right, but it still stays in that middle of the ordinary man on the street. Well, Madam is not satisfied with that, but it is subjective, but that is the standard that is used. The ordinary man on the street. Yes. Yes, the gentleman made mention of the PCI-DSS. Yes, it is not of local application. It is not of local application. That is why it is not being discussed here. Nigeria is the context here. So that is why it is not being discussed. I know at some point in the future we may be able to adopt it, depending on its applicability to our own circumstance here. But as it is now, it is not for it has been codified locally.
Yes. Barrister, sorry, just akin to that, how applicable is this law to companies that are not resident or domiciled in Nigeria, or companies that are not of Nigerian origin?
Okay.
So like the Googles, the Amazons,
yes.
Is this applicable to them?
Yes. Quickly, you realize that in our presentation, there was a discourse as regards third-party countries having similar provisions in their laws. So, before those third-party countries operate within our jurisdiction, there must be satisfaction that they have similar provisions in their laws. So, if at any point in time there is a breach of some sort, they can be penalized here in Nigeria for such breach. So that appears to take care of that. So on the power of the Privacy Commissioner to initiate action, I believe you are talking about his power to initiate a complaint, while the data subject also has the power to complain. Am I right? Yes, that it may conflict. Yes. Of course, I will want to assume that there is a mechanism to take care of that. Even though it is still a bill, it is not an act in operation yet. So I want to assume that they must be ready to create a mechanism whereby even if the data subject wants to take action in respect of a kind of breach, there has to be a record of a step that may have been taken by a commissioner or not. So it will now advise whether the commissioner should step down whatever action he has taken, allow the owner of the complaint to carry his load, or the data subject be satisfied with the commissioner pursuing his rights for him. So the last question was in respect of regulation and a bill. The NDPR is one which was created in line with the powers of the NITDA under the NITDA Act. The Act establishing NITDA. So it derives its force from the Act. The bill is not one which has been passed into law yet. So it has no force of law whatsoever now. It is until it is passed into law as an act of National Assembly that is when it becomes enforceable. But of course, areas of overlap will be dealt with, and the provisions of NIDA under the regulations will take precedence, because they are the ones that have the function to create those regulations by the law establishing them. Any other thing that comes into that act, which appears to be similar to what is in, would have to take the back seat when the NDPR is in play. That is the way it is. There's a principle of law which says when there's a specific and there's a general, it is a specific law that applies. NIDA is specifically set up to do that, and they made the regulations, so the regulations will prevail over whatever that other act says. That act is just a general act of National Assembly, but the one by NIDA is specific. So that's the one that takes precedence in the circumstance. So, in the light of that, I hope I've been able to deliver satisfactory response to some of our questions. And thank you for the opportunity for giving this paper today.
Thank you very much, Director. Thank you. Another round of applause. Okay, having concluded that, at this point we'll go for tea. Please ensure that you have your tabs on, because that is the basis for the ticket. So we'll break for 30 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes, just so that we can get back to our session. Thank you.